Welcome back to The Starting Point. On this episode, we tackle trash talk and unpack the end of Overwatch League Stage 1. With your host, Jimbasco Mondal, Esports caster, analyst, and grandmaster ranked in Overwatch. And we have Judy Jet Set Barbosa, head of New York City League of Legends, esports promoter, and former competitive player. Your esports starts now.
Welcome to The Starting Point. I'm Judy Jet Set.
I'm Jimbasco.
And we're here to talk about the latest happenings in esports. We're going to start with the PvP, where we take a deep dive into a particular topic. So Jimmy, do you think trash talk is good for esports?
Yeah, I actually think it's essential. I think it's been a part of esports ever since day one, basically, and you're shaking your head, you're disappointed in me for some reason.
I don't like it, dude. I think it's dumb. I think it's cringy most of the time, and I think it's useless.
Cringe aside, I think it has a lot of uses because, you know, I don't think without trash talk, League would have made it past its infantile stages.
Whoa, wait a minute. Okay, well,
Yeah.
Let's define this, all right? We're gonna hone in on some specific examples. I'm gonna show you a clip. This is Double Lift in an interview during All-Stars. I even forget, this was so long ago. So I forget what year it was, but it was when, I think it was one of the first times we had LCS.
Okay.
So we had an All-Star Games where we invited all the pros in. I think it was a fan vote. Double Lift, of course, got in. And here's what he says.
How good is it to get a pentakill at the LCS All-Stars? LCS All-Stars, it technically was, because it was Europe versus North America.
Everyone else is trash. Right here on the show.
Everyone else is trash. Well,
Classic.
Come
Beautiful.
on.
Beautiful. Honestly, that's when I hear Double Lift, that's what I imagine right there.
I think it's so cringy. Like, how are you in an interview,
Yeah.
sitting in front of a professional? The dude's in a blazer. Like, he clearly is commanding
Everybody
respect.
can wear a blazer
Okay,
at this one.
right? But he's supposed to be the MC. Like, he's supposed to navigate through this, and you want insightful commentary from your players. And what do you get? Everyone is trash. Like, that's so lame.
It is lame, Double Lift. No, he's not really lame, but I think he's doing a good job in being consistent with his brand and really just making a name for himself, being that almost villain, being that trash talker that everybody wants to kind of be.
But why does it need to be trash talk? Like, you're in a place, you've been invited to be there and to be one of the top players, and you're not showing respect to your opponents?
Maybe he just thinks he's that much better.
But I mean, he's capable of losing. Like, he's clearly not just the best, or else he wouldn't be human, right? So like, why would you go out of your way to showcase that kind of negativity?
That's true. That's like a Double Lift issue right there. I think intrinsically trash talk. I think what he was doing, not bad mannered. Maybe Double Lift might need to work on a couple of his own things, but I think what he was doing, good idea. Keep that up, because when you think of Double Lift, what do you think? Everyone else is trash.
Of course, but I don't know. Do you really think that trash talk is like a part of esports though?
Yeah.
Because I remember you saying
honestly,
earlier that
yeah.
it was intrinsic. Like, I don't agree. So why do you think that it's that locked in with the rest of esports?
I think it's not only because I think it's intrinsic not only to esports, but I think it's just intrinsic to anything with a competitive nature as a whole. And I say that because you can look at sports and you have trash talk in that. Just to any degree, you know, you pick up a game at your local park, there's going to be trash talk. Now, if you take it and you put it into esports and your target demographic is now teens and older teens and people in their 20s and etc., you're going to get that much more trash talk with that many more people playing at that age and such.
But that's what we're going to be teaching our teens, to how to be rude to each other?
No, I don't think you want to teach them that. See, that's where they have to distinguish. They have to learn themselves. You know, that's like a personal thing. You got to learn how to not be mean, but still be able to be competitive.
I guess. I don't know. I just really don't see why you think that they're so interlocked like that. You know what I mean? I really don't see why they have to be. Why does that have to be in the history of esports?
I think, like, my main reasoning behind it is because really, other than trash talk and the occasional marketing video that we get from, you know, the companies and organizations, what really do you have to go base their personalities on outside of the game? You know what I mean? Because otherwise, you just get these people that are like faces behind screens playing games, and it's interesting because they're really good players, but what about offside the screen? You want that beef, you want that tension, you want them to go against people that they hate.
Okay, look, I'm coming at this from a League perspective, right? And so League, there was a lot of trash talk in League. You want to talk like TSM versus CLG is El Clasico primarily because they just talked so much trash to each other. And like Reginald was, okay, this is what I don't get, right? Like Reginald and Hotshot, they both had their moments of greatness, but overall were inconsistent players, right? I think that, I don't know, I feel like they did not deserve the limelight they got, and they only got it because they were rude to each other.
Like, you bring that up, and I find such a good parallel in the Overwatch League right now, and it's ridiculous because they're both at, like, I want to say they were at similar stages when this trash talking really started taking off, because early in League, they had this trash talking to help build up the CLG versus TSM brand rivalry. You know, you brought it up. You saw Reginald going up against Hotshot, so much flack being thrown, and the only thing that we're getting close to resembling that in Overwatch League now is maybe Junkrat, see, Jake-Rat.
Jake-Rat.
On the Houston Outlaws, yeah. Becoming a meme because he thinks he's really good, and he claims to be, and he plays Junkrat, so.
But
I think you need it to create that.
That's so lame. Like, why? Okay, so that's what the Overwatch gets. That's your idea of trash talk. Jake saying that he's the best TPS because he plays Junkrat.
Okay, I do agree with you there. They might need to work on it because they just don't have enough beef going on, like, at all. Like,
okay, but see, okay, so you're saying that Overwatch needs to work on developing beef?
Not developing beef. Give the players time to really interact with each other, and I think beef will organically grow. Real cows.
Grade A.
Thank you.
Beef. See, okay, that's where I have cause for concern, because you're asking them to get more animosity. Like, why would you? Okay, so think about this, right? I'm gonna show you another clip with Leffen and Chillin' Dude, right? So let me set the stage. This is Super Smash Bros. Melee. And Leffen at the time was a superstar, like really fast come up. Like he kind of had that kind of heel mentality where he was just there to win and crush everybody else. Fine. But he goes on to say that Team Liquid players are washed up, right?
Okay.
Okay. What did that do? That inspired this masterpiece from Chillin' Dude. A diss track.
I can't say the production quality is particularly good, but...
Or the bars. Listen to this. This is terrible. Stick to your day job. Stick to your second day job, which is Smash. Do not try and come up with music.
Well, you know, in Chillin' Dude's defense, I gotta say, it kind of worked out for him. He's got 1 million views on the track. You know, on the track, I reference it like it's some like AAA title. He's got 1 million views. He's got 17,000 subscribers. You know, he might have been fringe top 50 at best when this came out, when this match was going down.
And he got bodied.
He got bodied, but that's the thing. It created something that people wanted to watch. And, you know, even afterwards, Chillin' Dude, he admitted he got bodied. He was like, okay, my bad, guys. But that's what people want to see. People want to see hype matches, a lot of excitement going into it, and then some good sportsmanship afterwards.
Okay. So that's really funny that you say that, because I don't know how you can have sportsman-like behavior in a situation where sometimes it's getting really egregious and offensive. You know what I mean? Like, okay, here's another clip. You've got Filipino Champ. This is Marvel this time. Another fighting game. A very technical, very intense game. So you've got Filipino Champ and you've got King Blue River, a very soft-spoken dude. Not a lot of, you know, information about him in terms of interviews and stuff. Whereas X-Champ is quite a showman. He's a very outspoken, right? Yeah. So they're playing in this exhibition match, not even the tournament. It's 1st to 15, and Filipino Champ wins.
All right.
Look at his response.
Okay.
Filipino Champ definitely just asked the crowd.
This is my game.
Oh, he told KBR, this is my game.
Yeah.
Look. You think this is okay? You want to be in a show match in front of all of those people and just have the man scream in your face?
I guess no, but at the same time, you have to give it to F-Champ for being the villain in this situation. Because if you're not on Kane Blue River's side, but by the end of that clip, I don't know what you're doing. You couldn't. There's no way you should be cheering for F-Champ after watching that. Kane Blue River just sitting there stoic, just getting shouted at. It creates tension. It's not good for F-Champ, but it's pretty good for Kane Blue River. People want that underdog to win, and F-Champ, even though he's playing that villain, he's being forced into it. It creates so much dynamic within the player base. I think it's pretty good.
I mean, well, so how does it look then when KBR goes on to win in the actual tournament?
I think it looks great. It just looks like F-Champ further fueled that fire, just turned up the ignition, turned up the burner, set KBR free into the wilderness. No, I mean, he ended up winning where it counted. You know, F-Champ got that that show match, but
KBR got the title.
Yeah.
I mean, it was satisfying to see him, you know, be almost like elegant in his success, right? Winning the tournament and not turning it back around necessarily. But I mean, I think it's still something to be said when in that exhibition match, you had other people, you had casters, like even other players like K-Brad saying like, Panda Global, why did you sign this guy? You know, and that's when you even have players calling into question the behavior of other players. That's just like on its face unsportsmanlike.
right, yeah, I absolutely agree. It's unsportsmanlike, but it does create some good drama.
I guess.
And you don't have to root for the guy that's yelling at him. Root for that KBR, because KBR did come back and win it anyways. So
I suppose, but I mean, I don't know. Okay, so unsportsmanlike behavior. We all agree that that's not cool. So then, what do you make of this situation? So we've got Leffen here versus Hungry Box.
Oh, okay.
So Hungry Box ends up winning this one, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And check out their response. He's gone. And look at Hungry Box. Like, no one is safe from this. Look at this. What is this?
Hey. Okay, so
What is this angry gorilla movement?
The
Come
concept.
on.
The
You're a
angry
man.
gorilla.
You're a player. You're a professional,
Right.
and you're out there stomping your chest.
I can't blame him for it though. Like I know Hungrybox and Leffen did not like each other going into this match. They still don't like each other, and honestly, I don't think that's something that they, or companies rather, or production companies, or anybody should have to strive and try to block off, because that real player emotion that we just got a glimpse into right there, we wouldn't have gotten if they had just gone and shaken their hands, you know? We wouldn't even be talking about that clip right now if we didn't see that just raw emotion. Leffen just getting out of there because he was like, I'm not even gonna fake it at this point.
I guess I just don't see like what. It's depressing to me, right? That when you finally see sort of the true colors of this player, it's just salt. It's just salt all the way down. So much salt that you can't even be a decent human being and shake the hands of your opponent that just beat you.
That's
like,
true.
own it. Have the respect. Have the decency to say, I'm a professional and I lost this game. Therefore, you deserve some respect. Okay, so I'm gonna, one thing I would like to highlight is the K-Brad versus Wolf Crone thing, right? Because that was a huge beef, right? You had Wolf Crone talking on social media, you had K-Brad responding in the game. They even took it to a point where there's a clip that you can see where K-Brad beat him in a set, like in pools, I think. And everyone went crazy because K-Brad got up and looked that man dead in the face and was like, what are you gonna say now? But you know what? Wolf Crone ate it. He ate it and he nodded and he said, yep, you're right, yep. That is sportsmanship. That is decent behavior. He said, you own it, congratulations. He shook that man's hand. Leffen looks like a lame there. He just looks like he doesn't know how to handle himself.
I really think, they still did a good thing there. Like, intrinsically, why do I keep saying intrinsically? Just innately, that was a good thing, and not trying to hide their emotions, because, yeah, he could have sat there and had to shake his hand, but there was so much context to that fight. Like, so many people just watched it because they knew there was going to be beef. and beef alone. And that's exactly what they got. And so that clip is still played to this day, just because people know that FGCs bring out the dirtiest out of the dirty, and it just creates, like, there's so much passion, so many thousands of hours into it, that it's just so hard to disregard it.
And you really believe that more of this should be in Overwatch League?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so, because we're missing personality, we're missing character, and we need it. Absolutely.
But you know what we don't need?
What?
We don't need XQC being an idiot.
Oh yeah, don't do that. Just come on.
So I'm glad that at least you agree that there's a point after which you shouldn't trespass. You should not insult people.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I guess I can understand the value of the hype. I can understand the value of the drama. I can understand even the genuineness of seeing a player being their true selves on the stage. But I think you and I can both agree that, you know, in a place that's supposed to be welcoming and available to everyone, maybe don't be a jerk.
Yeah, I think that's the key point. It's very essential to be able to just trash talk. Trash talk, it's essential to be able to have good banter without absolutely destroying someone's life, like, or making fun of who they are, or just putting them down in some weird way. Like, talk about your skill, talk about what you can do to them, back it up. Come on.
I guess. Ultimately, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Overwatch, that's one thing I find curious. I'm very curious to see if Overwatch will develop over time and where those player stories will go, or whether the money bags have the vice grip on the narrative.
It'll be interesting because I really want character personalities to come out, because there's so many good players, especially on NYXL. We have Pine already, and we don't even have like a glimpse into the mind of Pine yet. We just get him popping off and then him dabbing on stage. Like, with that alone, he has such a massive fan base. Now give him the ability to speak words. I'm telling you, millions more. It's
Give
good.
this man a voice.
Yeah, that's all he needs.
Maybe he just I wonder if have you heard him speak in English?
No, but I've heard other NYXL actually I have. They actually put out a good amount of videos on their NYXL webpage, so go check that out.
All right. Well,
but I want to see more intense rivalry. I want to see Pine trash talking other Korean DPS, being like, man, you cannot touch my McCree, and people know you can't touch his McCree, so they're gonna watch those matches.
see, I'm more of the kind of person who lets the gun speak for them. You know what I mean?
The pen is mightier than the sword.
The stats are mightier than the trash talk, in my opinion. All right, we're going to take it on to the roundup, where we talk about recent tournament news and recap some of the games of the past week. And I'm going to start with League, because you were saying that Overwatch was the league of was the weekend of upsets last week. League is in its league of upsets right now. Each one of those games, except for like, I don't know, one game maybe, was a complete upset. I was not expecting some of those games. In particular, I need to talk about TSM versus Clutch Gaming.
Okay.
That was a ridiculous game. We had TSM starting off with a substantial lead due to a botched level 1 invade.
And they were doing well previously, right?
I mean, so we mentioned before TSM was struggling at the beginning, but they had the bit of an upswing. But then this game comes in, right?
Okay.
That I'm frankly disappointed in both teams for this result, because, like I said, botched level 1, TSM is in the lead. You've got a substantial gold lead that TSM should traditionally run away with.
Take advantage of,
right?
Yeah.
Instead, Clutch Gaming goes on to win the game. Clutch Gaming goes on to win the game with a couple of stellar steals by my boy Apollo, ADC, rocking that red suit Ezreal, looking fine as hell. But I honestly found that rather disappointing on both sides, right? TSM obviously, like, they just dropped the ball after being given it at minute 1. And then Clutch just was like looking kind of staggered to begin with. How do you lose that level 1? We can talk about that later. I think more importantly, the thing to think about is that, yes, they're on their upswing, but both TSM and CLG have not really stepped out. You know, because they had that game recently, right?
Right.
There was
How did that matchup go?
Exactly. So TSM versus CLG, we were expecting all of this hype and all of this excitement, and it was just pretty one-sided.
It was actually a letdown?
Yeah.
There's always supposed to be hype surrounding those matches.
CLG just couldn't find the memes, you know what I mean? Like, they just they weren't there. TSM just kind of did what they should have done against Clutch.
Against Clutch,
yeah. It was ridiculous. Honestly, if you want to talk about, like, real tense moments, C9 bodied Liquid. It was not fair. And this is one thing we need to bring attention to is Licorice in that regard, right? So he was definitely a huge playmaker in that situation. And a lot of people were doubting him at first, myself included, because Impact, a lot of people saw that Licorice was a downgrade, right? He came from the challenger scene.
Right.
He was, you know, not a lot of data on him. You know, you couldn't really tell what he was going to do in the big leagues.
Kind of like a wild card.
Exactly, right? So, but he came up, and Jack is already calling him Rookie of the Split.
Already?
Like, hands down, he's just placing the gauntlet down.
Jack.
I mean, he has a right to after that game because Licorice did really well. So much so that Impact, poor little Impact, my heart broke when I saw this. He was like, he had tears in his eyes when he was shaking the hands of his, because it was Impact's on Liquid now, right? So that was a heartfelt match for him. Apparently, Jack said later on that when he walked by and shook Jack's hand, Impact had said, "This is my gift to you," because he did so poorly in the game.
Oh no.
You had all of Reddit calling him the 69 member, dude. It was really tragic for him. But he's a world-class player. I think he can
That's so unfortunate,
come back
honestly,
from it.
though.
But
Yeah.
one, I guess, like the biggest upset, I would say, would be Golden Guardians actually getting a win against 100 Thieves.
And 100 Thieves has been doing phenomenally.
They started off really well. Remember, that was one of the teams that I wanted us to look out for, you know, with Aframu and Crawley. They just, 100 Thieves went 0-2 this weekend.
That's so disappointing.
It's really tragic. And I mean, good job for Golden Guardians, even though I don't really think much of them, to be honest. I'm just really afraid of what this means for 100 Thieves, especially since I was kind of really ready to rally behind them since I lost my team.
But I mean, just like 100 Thieves was super strong in the early stages of the league format, we have such a similar story, like a parallel being drawn here between Overwatch League and League of Legends. It's ridiculous because we have Seoul Dynasty, who've just been #1. They've been dominant for so long. Finally biting the bullet and not doing too well there. Seriously? Yeah.
What happened?
So Seoul Dynasty actually went up against the LA Valiant, and we said that this was going to be the match that determined which one of these guys would be playing for playoff placement.
We said that before, that it was between Valiant and Dynasty to get that 3rd place seed, right?
Yeah.
Ah.
Well, it was if Seoul was able to pull out that victory, but LA Valiant, man, soon looked absolutely fantastic on that Tracer and agilities on Pharah, hitting so many good mid-air shots. They went up 3-0 over the Seoul Dynasty.
So nice.
And just last week, we were talking about Korean empires falling. Here it is.
Man, I don't believe it. I still don't believe it. But I mean, that 3-0, that's pretty compelling.
Even further, it was kind of ridiculous because San Francisco Shock, I don't know if you remember me ragging on them earlier in the
Yeah, they're the bad ones, right?
Exactly, they're the bad ones. They're like rank 10, maybe 11 at this point, and they were 2-0 against the Seoul Dynasty at some point.
No!
In one match, yeah. They were 2-0 against the Seoul Dynasty. Seoul did come back, they won it 3-2 in the end, but that skill gap is closing, and it's closing fast. If number 10 from the West can take out Seoul.
I mean, I still believe in my conspiracy theory that, like, the Koreans are just giving us a long con, right?
Yeah.
So the Shock was up 2-0, and then the Koreans were like, Seoul Dynasty was like, is it time for us to turn on our monitors? Should we plug in our mice? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
so,
they finally took back the 3 points and not stop afterwards.
I believe it. It's just, all the evidence is there.
It's possible, but it's the crazy thing. The Houston Outlaws, they had the lowest chance of making it into the playoffs. They actually made it. They were the 3rd seed in the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Houston Outlaws had an absolutely fantastic match against the London Spitfires. Tooth and nail, but Houston Outlaws came out on top of that.
That's neat.
And then they went up against the Boston Uprising, and they came out on top of that as well. And Boston Uprising were on a hot streak. They were 4-0 at one point, and I think their record extended all the way up to 6-0. It was kind of ridiculous, but Houston made it. into the playoffs. They were the 3rd seed, and then tragedy struck.
What do you mean?
Oh, she's so innocent and hopeful. She's like, what happened? New York, earlier in the day, they beat Spitfire, right? So they guaranteed their 1st seed placement.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. Straight to the finals. You think easy sailing. Good. And then Spitfire ended up beating the Houston Outlaws, so it was Spitfire versus the New York Excelsior once again.
Okay, yeah, again.
And then New York, up 2-0. Up 2-0. They just needed to win one more map to secure $100,000 for their team. They ended up getting reverse sweep by the London Spitfire.
Are you kidding me?
And they didn't put in Pine. They put Pine in for 1 game. They put Pine in for 1 game.
Why? Why?
I don't know. Birdring on the London Spitfire, right? He's an absolutely fantastic DPS. He was flexing on Widowmaker. Not flexing as in playing something he's uncomfortable with. He was legitimately
Like
flexing
on him.
Yeah.
Ah.
He had the best positioning. His shots were on fire, and literally New York tried diving him with 6 of them, like the most coordinated dive I've seen. And they weren't able to kill him because he was pocketed.
Oh, snap.
Team was focusing. They needed to put in Pine to really contest Birdring's Widow, and
that's what you do, right? When you have a widow, you put another widow, and then they have the widow battle.
They have the Widow battle, exactly, and then the rest of the team plays the game. I don't know, it didn't work, but it was an exceptionally close match. It was 85-83, 1 team matches in favor of the New York Excelsior, which is 2 team fights decided the outcome.
Wait a minute, you guys have like 160, 170 team fights in a match?
Yeah, it gets ridiculous. Not regularly. These are the best teams in the world at the moment. It's ridiculously close.
That's
and
crazy.
447 to 449 kills in favor of the London Spitfire.
So it was literally 2 kills that made the difference.
Yeah. Profit with a Junkrat tire at the end. We'll have a clip of that later. You'll see the $100,000 tire. It was painful.
I don't like Overwatch.
New York Excelsior, though, they ended up 1st place in stage 1, but London Spitfire did take the final victory, taking home that $100,000.
That's so nuts.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But that's interesting how you can be 1st place in the stage, but still not be the winner. I don't know. We can talk about that later, because I really want to talk about the matches to look forward to this weekend. Overwatch is on hiatus,
yeah, we got a break for now because finals are over. We're going to be waiting for stage 2, so till then, hold on.
All right, till then, you can watch the better game, League of Legends. You can watch the more intense matches of Cloud9 versus TSM. That's actually going to be a really good match because C9 and TSM are both really, they've always been in contention for number 1. Much more so, I would say that the competition is much closer than CLG versus TSM or C9. C9 has always been top talent, and this is going to be an old rivalry kind of flaring up again. And it also gives us a good idea of who might make it toward the playoffs, because right now it's kind of up in the air.
So you were asking earlier about how the Overwatch League Stage 1 worked, and we'll be tackling that in our Flashpoint for today.
Okay, good, because I thought that was really weird that they played the playoffs right after just a regular day of games.
Yeah, it was absolutely really weird, and there's players playing 14 hours of matches. It was absurd. But going forward, Nate Nanja, the commissioner of Overwatch, it legitimately feels like I'm talking about a country. I can't stop. But he said that, you know, going forward, they're thinking about moving matches to Sunday and really spreading them out so players get time to rest in between, because fatigue was definitely a factor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I saw it plainly in when I was at E-League. I'm gonna talk about E-League every single week because I was there and it was magical. When I was there, I remember having a debate with other journalists actually about whether burnout and like playing games simultaneously affects how you play. Obviously, burnout is a huge issue, but playing that many matches in a row on the same game totally affects how you perform.
And Spitfire, even though they were playing an absurd amount of matches, they still took it over NYXL, which kind of makes me sad. But, you know, going into the stage 2 of Overwatch League, there's going to be a ton of map changes as well. We're going to be seeing Hanamura, Volskaya, Lijiang Tower, Nepal, Kings Row, Route 66, Hollywood, and Gibraltar, which I'm kind of happy because I'm tired of seeing the same old maps over and over again.
I kind of don't think those maps, some of those maps are competitive though. I really don't like some of them.
Yeah, like 2 CP maps are not going to be a lot of fun. Seeing Hanamura, Volskaya, it's going to be good because we'll see maybe a lot of Torbjorn and Symmetra for
Play Symmetra, you cowards!
out there, like...
Play Symmetra! Do you remember that? The sign?
Yeah, we're gonna have to see how this pans out, honestly, because the meta is already shifting. We got a lot of new patch changes coming our way.
Route 66.
Route 6. Yeah, honestly. But like speaking of changes, there's Mercy. Nerf to the ground.
You're happy about that, huh?
I'm so happy. I'm not nerf to the ground. You can still play her if you're
A masochist.
if you really want to. You can play Mercy. Go ahead. I'm not gonna say anything, but we're going to be seeing a lot more diversity in the professional scene now because a lot of support players who are good on Lucio, who are good on Zenyatta, being forced onto Mercy, namely Toby, Soul Dynasty, Dax on the San Francisco Shock. So lots of good talent going to be re-emerging now, and it's going to be super sweet.
But there's going to be more Moira now too,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. We've been seeing in a lot of the smaller tournaments, Tier 2, Tier 3, quad tank Moira.
You called it.
The beef is here.
Beef.
And I'm kind of scared. Golden Boy, Alex Mendez, I know you're watching this, he's probably not, but he said he was happy to see the tank meta back, and I asked him why, and he never responded because, I don't know, but...
But you like the tank meta, right?
No. Tank meta is not fun because you have 4 tanks and 2 healers. You're missing DPS. That's what I play. What am I gonna do?
Oh no.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be bad, but
But that reminds me, actually, speaking of DPS,
Yeah.
we're seeing player roster swaps and stuff,
yeah,
right?
a lot, actually. It's kind of scary, but it's kind of intriguing at the same time. So let's get right into it. And the Dallas Fuel, we've got AKM heading on over, and from the London Spitfire, Rascal. Yeah, he was one of their DPS. They had 2 rosters, actually, on the London Spitfire team, yeah. And so they had a lot of good players, exceptionally good players, just kind of sitting on the bench.
Was Rascal on the team that won those stage 1 finals?
He was not, but he was such a fantastic DPS that he could have easily been. And so that's the point of contention. He's got swapped now. Fisher is also onto the LA Gladiators. Good roster changes. And one of your favorites, moving on to the Shanghai Dragons.
Aw, yeah. You know it's a big deal when you got T-Pain tweeting about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Geggery, the frog girl, Geggery means frog, but she's known for exceptional tracking ability on Zarya. She's been called an aim hacker, and she's finally on an Overwatch League team, getting the recognition that she needs. And yeah, like you said, T-Pain tweeted about it. Like, what?
That
Who
means
knew
it's legit.
T-Pain?
That means it's legit.
Yeah, he streams Overwatch. T-Pain streams over, like, what?
What a beast. What a beast. We need T-Pain to stream on the leaderboard for us. That would be legit.
That'd be great.
But, I mean, ultimately, those are all still DPS players, right?
Yeah, and that's the weird thing. On the Dallas Fuel, they have, I want to say, 5 DPS players. Yeah, it's getting kind of messy, and I think they're getting kind of frantic. They're going to try a lot more combinations to try and help out Effect, because we know he's a fantastic tracer. We just need to give him the right nutrients so he can blossom.
That reminds me of a player that we're going to be talking about shortly. So,
oh, yeah.
Thanks for that segue.
You got it.
All right, now we're going to take it on to pro tips, where we talk about some specific things in-game that are worth noting.
Yeah, and we'll start it off with Overwatch, because clearly it's the better game.
Whoa, hey, I usually take it over with League. I am giving this to you.
Yeah. Hello, class. Welcome. So today we'll be talking about zone control, and it's very important because it's really just about limiting your aggression when you're on the defensive side, or really when you have the lead. You don't need to push the wrong buttons when you've already got the right buttons pushed, you know what I mean? So let's go take a look at this play. It's from the London Spitfire matchup against the New York Excelsior. It's map 5 out of 5.
This is the play.
Yeah, this is the play. London Spitfire have the advantage here. They're on the defense, and there's 30 seconds left for New York Excelsior to be on the attack. So New York Excelsior, they're looking really to cap and push the last maybe like 10 meters or less. It's like 4 meters. Really, they have not a lot of room to go. So New York are looking to get aggressive and really push out and cap the second point. Spitfire, however, they've realized that New York have to make a move. So being the smart team that they are, they exercise their control. They wait for the other team to dive. Once they hear the dive coming out from New York, Prophet sends out his Riptire because he knows there's going to be no one on his defense. And if you look, Prophet dies immediately after, but he gets that Mercy. And this is the Mercy meta, guys. So as long as you get the Mercy, everything's going to be okay.
It's over.
And, you know, it's that one play won them $100,000. If you guys can replay that, limit your aggression a little bit in competitive when you have the lead, maybe, instead of $100,000, you'll hit Diamond or Masters or Grandmaster or Silver or Gold or what have you. I think limiting your aggression, just knowing when to go in and when to engage and realizing when you have the lead is really, really important in Overwatch.
Absolutely. I could say the same in League. I really want to highlight this first botched invade, right? We have Clutch Gaming here, knowing that they have a good level 1, right? So in your scenario, you had players who knew that they were in the lead to be kind of passive in their defense. Here, these players know to be aggressive in their level 1 invade, right? They want to shake up things for TSM, kind of delay their start. And they can do that because of their team comp, because the Braum is just so strong at level 1. It's so strong that we get a flash out of the jungler, which normally is amazing. But then look at what Lyra does. He walks away. He walks away, and then TSM can take it back with a better 2v2. And Mike Young swings around and gets the first blood. You go from putting the guy behind to giving him first blood because Lyra did not communicate that he was departing. And it's clear, bot lane had no other choice but to go through that tribe rush and start the fight. I honestly think that if you are in a situation in a solo queue game, right? I know it's not as easy to communicate. We don't have voice comms yet, but you have pings. You have the chat. You can type if you're gonna go away. If you think that, if you're uncertain about a level 1, go side with your teammates anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got strength in numbers.
Absolutely.
But if you can, be communicative about where you're going to be and whether you think this is a bad idea.
Yeah, in League, you can use those pings, use that text chat. In Overwatch, make sure you use voice chat. I know it can be a little daunting to hop in and try talking to 5 new strangers every game, but really, it can help. As long as you start up the conversation, people are going to start talking, and your teamwork and synergy is just going to go way up.
Exactly. I mean, the players clearly needed to talk to each other, to know, to hold back, and to wait for that opportune moment in Overwatch, as well as in League. So we're going to get into our Hero Select, where we highlight individual players for their greatness. And I'm really glad that you let me talk about that clutch play, because it's really important for us to really take stock of the full game, right? Lyra was the reason why they botched that level 1. And it really was Apollo that took that game back.
On ADCS?
Exactly, looking beautiful in that red suit, Ezreal.
Okay.
Clutch Apollo was looking more like the jungler than the actual jungler.
What do
He
you
had multiple steals on Barons, Dragons. He commanded team fights. It was amazing because not only was he a middle-of-the-run ADC previously, right? He wasn't super stellar. I mean, do you remember Wiz Fujin?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is the same
that's
dude.
Him. He actually,
so
he
long
changed his
ago.
name. I mean, I don't know why you would go with a name like Wiz Fujin when your name is Apollo Price. Come on, that's badass.
Yeah, you got kind of blessed in the name lottery there.
Yeah, he's a G. And now it's really good to see him doing well with Hakuho. I mean, both of them are giving other bot lanes a run for their money. Not to mention, Apollo is the team's shot caller. This is actually news to me because when I found that out, I found it so amazing that you can be so stressed in a bot lane, which is the most stressful lane by far. I don't care what anyone says. Go from a game with a terrible level 1 that sets you back as well as your team.
Yeah.
And then go lead the team to victory. That's absolutely nuts, and it's really worth showcasing.
That's really crazy, actually, because you did mention it's so hard to keep. You got to maintain your CS, you got to maintain pressure and maintain map control while being the shot caller. That's nuts.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. So, highlighting another player who has really come into his own playstyle, we've got SKT Blossom.
Okay.
I was talking a lot of smack about SKT previously because they were looking dismal.
Yeah, they were not good.
But Blossom has really come in and shown us why we call him the faker of jungle. He has this aggression that's still calculated, and like he's just always in the right places. He's got such a high kind of kill participation, which is like a ratio that we track. I don't know if you do that in Overwatch, but we track like kills and assists and you know,
similar.
Yeah, we track those stats, and him being everywhere is just such a pivotal. Junglers just make the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They make or break good teams, and he's just really showcasing how good he's doing.
I'm glad you said that about junglers because I used to jungle.
You gotta get back into it, man.
Rengar
It's a whole
Kha'Zix.
different game, but I think you'd make a good jungler.
Thank you. But speaking of players coming into their own, blossoming into a beautiful, vivacious flower, London, their Spitfire DPS duo, were absolutely insane. In the playoff matches, Birdring popped off like we've never seen him before on that Widowmaker. He was actually giving everybody on NYXL a run for their money. And it was kind of ridiculous because NYXL prior to this was #1 in the league. It's kind of hard to imagine. Profit on the Junkrat. He flexed onto Pharah as well, plays a little bit of Genji, but Junkrat plays what the name of the game was. He had to keep that high damage up. He was zoning a lot on Junkrat, which is super important, and the entire Spitfire roster was super coordinated. Moving forward, let's talk about LA Valiant. Soon in agilities? Soon. He was on Rogue previously, and he was known worldwide for his exceptional tracer ability. It was just ridiculous. And even though the Valiant didn't qualify, they played amazingly against the Seoul Dynasty. 3-0 is nothing to laugh about. They tied that one.
Especially not against the Seoul Dynasty.
Absolutely. Agilities as well, playing exceptionally on Pharah. He has the ability to flex, onto other heroes as well. That's a little insider joke. But, you know, agility is soon looking fantastic, and I think going into season 2, stage 2 rather, Seoul Dynasty really have to work out their weaknesses in Ryujahong and their calling because something was not working out there. They fell to something like 4th, 5th, or 6th place in the league. Not looking good. Yeah.
Now we're on to our ending point, where I am going to celebrate one of our own. All right? Yeah, okay, Spitfire won. That's nice. Stage 1 winners. Cute. But we rep NYXL
all
in
day.
this house
All day,
every day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So, since this is an NYXL house, we're going to showcase Pine doing Pine things.
And hits a grand slam.
And that's what you get with Pine Doa. He flanks around the backside of the London formation, as you're about to see with the Infrasight, and nailed the shots. Not many Widowmakers would go for this play.
Yeah, but Pine would.
And he just absolutely nails it here. Even to the machine gun. What a flick.
Are
and
you
another one.
serious?
Beautiful.
This guy's a living highlight reel, man.
Thank you so much for watching The Starting Point. I am Judy Jetset.
I'm Jimmy Jimbasco Mondal, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon to become part of our notification squad today.
Keep it locked on the Leaderboard, your home for video game facts.